welcome to a new edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Now today we're going to be doing a thermo Sudoku by Ashish Kumar, the brilliant setter from India, which appeared on GM Puzzles a few months ago now. And we had an email from Brian Lee Williams over in Illinois, and I think he's been working through a lot of the puzzles on GM Puzzles, and he got stumped by this one. In the end he did solve it, but it needed, he said, a ridiculous logic chain that he thinks was probably not what was required. So I'm going to take a look at that in a moment. Just to mention though, a couple of things. Firstly, we released the interview with Mark following his win in the Times Crossword Championship. That's gone up on the site earlier today. So check that out if you're interested in cryptic crosswords. I think it was quite interesting, and it seems to be getting some good comments. And this puzzle, which appeared yesterday from GCHQ, the UK security service, they tend to release puzzles every now and again, and they're always of a very high quality. And we actually did this one, or I did it yesterday. And it has some similarities with Sudoku, so that's why I mention it. Some of you may enjoy it. So if you want to try it, just get over to GCHQ's Twitter account, and you'll find all the details there. Now let's find this puzzle. Okay, so here's the puzzle, and now you can see this was made to sort of celebrate the upcoming World Puzzle Championship, and here we've got WPC written out in the grid. Which is already lovely. No given digits, which can often be the case with a thermometer Sudoku. Now the times for this puzzle are interesting. GM Puzzles does publish sort of standard times for various levels of solver. It always amuses me that they start with the level of expert. So expert is the slowest time, and if you are an expert Sudoku solver, this is meant to take you over 20 minutes. If you are a grandmaster solver, 8 minutes. And grandmaster solvers, if I understand what they're getting at there, that means sort of world top 10 type standard. So this is a properly involved puzzle. That's what we can detect from that. Any Sudoku that takes the world's best 8 minutes is a difficult beast. So I hope this video won't be too long. Now, a reminder of how thermo Sudoku works. Basically, you can see that there's a lot of lines in the grid, and there's always a bulb attached to a line. Now the bulb must be the smallest number along the thermometer, and then each number thereafter must be increasing in some sort of order. So, you know, if this was a 1, this would have to be a number greater than a 1, but it doesn't need to be a 2, it could be a 3. Then this one could be a 5. So as you go up the thermometer, you must increase the number, and that's the only rule. So using that, we should be able to crack it. Now, if you want to have a go, and I do recommend it, Ashish puzzles are brilliant, click on the link under the video. That'll take you to a page that looks just like this one. And with that, I am going to look at this. Probably start with this P, in fact, because that's obviously, this square can't be too high, otherwise we'll run out of room. So let's think about this. If this was a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, broken. So this has to be a 1, 2, or a 3. Therefore, this has to be a 7, 8, or a 9. And, oh, yes, actually, this thermometer is of length 7. Now, these two thermometers here, I think, also are of length 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, they are. So we've got the same restriction going on there, so we should note that, especially because that gives us a 1, 2, 3 triple in row 5, and that means we can ask an interesting question. What can this cell be? We know it must be 4 or higher, so if we make this higher than a 4, let's try a 5. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, broken again. So in fact, we know this must be a 4, which means we can fill the thermometer, which is rather nice. These two squares, therefore, must be 1, 2, and 3. We don't yet know what this one is. Now, can we go? Yes, we can. We can use this. We've got 7, 8, 9 here. looking at these two spots on this thermometer. So if these two cells cannot be 7, 8 or 9, we know they must be lower. So how low could they be? How low could this digit be? Now you can see this can't be a 4. If we try a 4 into this square, this would have to be 3, 2, 1, and there'd be nothing we could put into this square. So this cell has to be higher than a 4, and it can't be as high as a 7, 8 or a 9. So we know, in fact, this must be a 5 and this must be a 6. And if this is a 5, there's just enough room to make this 4, 3, 2 and 1. So there we go, we're off and running. I mean, it's so lovely, isn't it, the way this sort of interacts. You would never, ever, you know, at first glance, appreciate that restriction. But there it is. That is just gorgeous. One of those must be a 1 now, so that means one of these must be a 1. This can no longer have a 1 in it, so this can no longer be a 7. If we make this a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's the minimum this can be. Ah, yes, now look, 4's here and here. So in this box, you can see we can eliminate 4's from the yellow squares, but we can also eliminate a 4 from this square because this is on a thermometer. Now, if I put the 4 at this end, this has to be lower than a 4, and it can't be a 1, 2, or a 3. So in fact, in this box, the 4 is locked down there. Now, what can we do with that? Oh, I see. I do see. Look, this is a trick. If you do thermometer puzzles a lot, you'll come up a lot with this this feature, I suppose. If you manage to lock both ends of a thermometer to just 2 digits like this, then as we work our way along the thermometer, we can actually, everything must be a pair of digits like this. That's the only options for each square along the thermometer. Now, this 4 pencil marking here rules out 4 from either of those 2 squares, and you can see, therefore, we must have a 5 and a 3. Therefore, this is a 2, and that's going to, in fact, finish this thermometer off and give us a 3 here. Wow. Okay, so we're doing quite well. 7, 8. Ah, there's something. Look, the 4's interact on this box now rather beautifully. They rule out 4's from those squares. These can't be 4, so we know the 4 is on this thermometer. Now, if I put it in the bulb end, this has to be a number bigger than a 4, but it can't be because we've already got all of those bigger numbers in the column already, so that has to be a 4. 4. This could still be a 6. In fact, it is a 6. Look, we've got 6, 6 there. So this is a 6. The 6 is over here on this W thermometer. We've got everything in this column apart from the 1, 2, and the 3. So these 2 digits have to be 4 and 5, I think. Oh, it's beautiful. It's just gorgeous. Look at this 1, 2 here. Now, they have a lovely effect down in the bottom left because now we know that the 1 and the 2 must be on the thermometer. Now, as soon as you know the 1's on the thermometer, it must be at the bulb. And where can we put a 2? Well, the 2 must be the next digit, either on this stem or this stem. So the 2 must be in one of those 2 positions. Well, it can't be in column 2 because it will clash with that one. So that's a 2. Now we've got 1, 2 pairs here. So this is a 1, 2 pair at the top. Now, just looking at the C thermometer and wondering, it's it's hard to see this, but I think if whatever we put at the bulb end, you can see there are going to be 6 cells that have to be greater than whatever we put in this square. So it doesn't quite work as naturally as the P thermometer, but it does work similarly in the sense that this square here can't be too big. In fact, it must be a 1, 2 or a 3. Because if we make this a 4, we could go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, broken. So this is a 1, 2 or a 3. Now that means that the 4 must be in one of those squares, which in turn is interesting because now this can't be a 3 anymore. Because if we do make this a 3, I can't use a 4 on the thermometer. So 3, the minimum I could make this square would be a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, broken. So this is not 3, which means we've now got a 1, 2 pair in row 2. Oh, it's just stunning puzzle setting, this. Let's see, can this be a 2? If this is a 2, watch what happens. That square becomes a 1. Now this 1, because it can't be in either of those squares now, is forced onto the thermometer in this box. But the 1 can't be on the thermometer because a 1 on the thermometer must always be in the bulb end. Ergo, this is not a 2. This must be a 1. You can see the 2 must be on the thermometer, so that's going to have to be the next digit in one of these 2 positions. The 6 must be on the thermometer. Oh, in fact, look, we've got 6s here and here as well, so the 6... Oh, that's interesting. The 6, yeah, the 6 is forced onto this thermometer. Now, can the 6 be in this end? If it's in this end, this square has to be a number lower than a 6, but all of those numbers are impossible. It can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So this can't be a 6. 6 must be this end. This must be a 7 or an 8. And now the 6 up here must be in one of these 2 squares. Okay. Oh, hang on. That square, the 4 here, means this has got to be lower than a 4, and it can't be a 1 and it can't be a 3, so that's a 2. Well, that's a 2. So 2 in one of these 2 squares at the bottom. Ah, now, well, this can't be a 9, but look, we've got a 7 and an 8 down here, and I haven't put a 7 or an 8 in this box, so these 2 squares can only be 7, oh, whoops, 7 or an 8, so the 1 cannot be here. The 1 must be in this square, which means that's a 1 and that's a 2. These 2 squares must be 3 and 9 to complete the column. Sorry about this, let me just stare at this for a moment. Ah, now, interesting. Let's have a look at this row. Where can a 3 go? Now this 3 is rather good because it rules a 3 out from this square. Now once the 3 is ruled out from this position on the thermometer, we could never put it here, obviously, because then this square would have to be lower than a 3, and it can't be a 1 or a 2 because they've already been used up. So there's no 3 in either of those squares. Therefore the 3 is on this thermometer, but we can't put it at this end because again this would have to be a 1 or a 2, and it can't be. So this is a 3. That means the 3 is in one of those squares down here. Ooh, now here's some nice logic. Look at this 3, 4, 5. Let's have a think about how this 3, 4, 5 interact in this box up here. Now, We've managed to lock 4s into one of those squares. We know that 3 and 5 are not in these two positions, so we could put a 3 or a 5 in one of these two squares, but not both. Now that means that on this limb of the thermometer, this square here must be a 3 or a 5, because if I put a 3 into in these squares and make a 3-4 pair, this square would have to be a 5, because the 5 can't be down here. It's on this thermometer and it must be the next digit, because the 3 and the 4 would be in this square. If, on the other hand, the 5 is in one of these two positions, then this has to be a 3. And if the 3 and the 5 are not at all in either of these squares, the 3 obviously has to be here as well. So this is a 3 or a 5, and there's a 5 there. So in fact, that's a 3. There's a 3 down there. Two, 3, 7, 2, 3, 4. Sorry about this. Now I need to stare again. 4, 5. 9 must be in one of those two squares. 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. That square must be, just looking along this row, we've got lots of given digits. We haven't yet placed the 5, 7 or the 9, so that's a 7 or a 9. The 5 must be in one of these two squares, therefore. Ooh, yes, there you go, this square. Now I pencil marked 6s into these two squares, but I was a bit remiss. Let's look at this square. Can this be a 6? If this is a 6, 7, 8, 9 is forced, i.e. this square has to be an 8. It can't be an 8, so this can't be a 6. The 6 is there. Now, therefore, this square must be an 8 or a 9. These two digits have to be lower than 6 but higher than 2. So this one must be 4 or 5. This one must be 3 or 4. Now, this one can't be 4 because there's already a 4 in the column. So that's a 5. Therefore, that's a 5 and that's a 4. Must be a 5 in one of these two squares. This 5 sees that pencil mark, so this is a 5. So this is this must be an 8 or a 9 now, because we know it's bigger than a 5 and it can't be a 6 or a 7. 5 must be in one of those squares. This must be a 7 or a 9 to complete the row. 6 now, this square here, this 6 forces a 6 into one of these two squares, so that's a 4-6 pair. So that's a 7 or an 8. Now if you look at the 7, 8, 9 triple here, this square is an 8 or a 9, so the 7 must be in one of those two positions. Now this, yes, this 7, look. I could have put that in before, that was a bit slow, sorry. 7's up there. This square could, can't be 3, could still be 4, could be 8, 9. Okay, so that's a bit disappointing. Hang on though, look. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I still need 2, 3, 8 and 9 to complete row 9 of the grid. Now, look, I've got a 2, 3 there and a 2, 3 there. So these two squares can only be 8 and 9. So this square is a 2 or a 3. Oh, I thought that would be really helpful. Damn. But it is helpful. It is helpful. This square is seriously restricted because it can't be 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. It can't be a 1 because it's on the thermometer but not at the bulb end, or a 2 or a 3. That square can only be a 4, which means that's a, oh, whoops. This is a 4. That's a 4. This has to be a 4 over here. That resolves the 4 and the 6. Now there's a 6 in one of these two squares and a 6 there. So that's a 6, that's a 7, that's a 7, that's an 8. 7 must be in one of those two squares. Oh, there was a flurry of activity there. I hope I haven't gone too quickly. Now, yes, this column, we need 7, 8, and 9. This square can only be a 7 because of the 8, 9 here. Therefore, that's a 9. This is an 8. This is a 9. This is a 7. This is an 8. This is a 7. This 7 means that that's a 7, which means this is a 6. Now, that's great because that means these two squares must be 8 and 9. Can we, yeah, actually, in fact, we can resolve it. There's a 9 there. So that's a 9, that's an 8. This is a 5 to complete the box. Now, this is a 5. These two squares have got to be a 2, 3 pair now. So this is a 1. This is a 1. This square here should be an 8. And this is the 9. Wow! 8 there. These two squares, that's a 9, therefore this is a 3. And I think, yes, this 3 resolves the 3 and the 2. I think we've cracked it. What a beautiful, beautiful puzzle. 2, 3. Yeah, that's all looking reasonable, isn't it? So 5, 8, and 9 down here. So this is an 8, that's working. This is a 9, and this is a 5. Check. Yes. What a beautiful puzzle. Loved it. Do let me know in the comments how you got on, whether there was some better logic I could have used. It didn't feel like I butchered it, to be honest. I was a bit slow in a couple of places, but I really did enjoy that. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.